Let's turn our attention now to the Murray State Racers, 16-17 a season ago, 9-11 in the Missouri Valley Conference. A coaching change at the end of the year. Normally in these segments, we talk about key departures, key returners. Well, everybody departed and everybody is new. So that is what we have with first-year head coach Ryan Miller. Let's bring in my tag team partner from the Racer Radio Network, the man, the myth, and the legend, Kenny Roth this morning. Boo, how are we doing today?
Good morning. How's the world? Lots of activity today in the Missouri Valley Conference.
There is. We had media day that we both hopped on briefly, heard from the commissioner. But I guess the thing I want to talk about before we get into things is Saturday afternoon in Cincinnati. Racers 75-70 winners there in the exhibition against the Xavier Musketeers with 48 hours to sleep on it. What's your big takeaway from that matchup on Saturday?
Well, I was interested to see how the Racers would handle the pressure that Richard Pitino teams usually play with, and Xavier did in fact bring a lot of full court pressure, not a lot of trapping, but a lot of man-to-man pressure, team turnovers for the game, which was manageable for them. And then matching up against a Big East lineup that, started at the 2, 3, and 4, 6, 6, 6, 8, 6, 10, 7 foot, just a lot of size. And Murray State got pounded on the glass to start the game, but really responded and fought back well on the defensive glass as well as the offensive glass. So I think the physicality of playing up, to the Big East, that the Racers met that, and this Racer team certainly does have a lot of depth moving forward to pick and choose from.
Back in late March, athletic director Nico Yanko tabbed Ryan Miller as the new head coach of the Racers, coming after a lot of high major experience. Spent the last 4 as the associate head coach at Creighton. We have certainly seen over the decades the guys that have come from big-time places that have started their coaching career at Murray State and gone on to bigger and better things. Mark Gottfried from UCLA, Mick Cronin coming in from Louisville, now Ryan Miller from Creighton. From back in March, when he was just kind of a resume on a press release, to now seeing him in action for the last 6 months or so, what has jumped out to you about Ryan Miller leading this Racer program?
I think we all knew his pedigree was very good. Worked for, multiple very successful head coaches, and at each place, he had really elevated himself up into the associate head coach role. And so, his pedigree was easy to spot. You just never know how head coaches are going to function as recruiting as the head coach, where they are the one that's being sold as opposed to as an assistant, you're selling someone else. And then also just when you move over 18 inches during games, out of that assistant seat to the head coach's seat, how they would respond there. And Ryan Miller got a jump on things with being able to coach 3 games in the Bahamas, but thought he did a fantastic job at Xavier in managing substitutions and managing time management late in the game, or the last minute of the game lasted about 15 or 20 minutes of real time with a lot of decisions that had to be made. And I thought he did an excellent job with that. Also liked the firmness that he showed with the team at times early in the game. Xavier really dominated the glass and kind of punked the Racers out the first 3 or 4 minutes on the offensive glass. And they had a nice conversation during the timeout, and really from then on, I thought that Murray State elevated their play. But just to see him, interact his personality, and to see how he's going to be handling those situations, thought he did a great job in the first really significant head coaching opportunity.
You talked about that final minute of the game, and look, coaches, I've sat in practice. They run these little, 2-minute games where you get into these tight situations. Like you can have a list as long as your arm of up to 10 seconds, down to 10 seconds, whatever. Especially those final 15 seconds, you had a foul up 3 situation. You're trying to sub guys in and out. You're trying to, everything. It was almost stuff you couldn't even dream of that he got in real time with his guys to be able to do it and to be able to come out with the win, all the better. But that was just. I just thought that was just unbelievable on-court practice for his guys and for them to come out on the right end.
Yeah, we were. Our view from calling the game was up a little bit behind the Murray State bench, and to be able to watch that happen, I paid a lot of attention to that. And I tell you, I give a lot of credit to his assistants. They were very in tune with each situation and were in his ear, making recommendations. So you could see the wheels turning with the assistants and that information getting to the head coach, and then him having to make obviously quick decisions. But I think that has come together for him too. That's difficult. So not only do you have a new head coach, you have all new assistant coaches that have never worked together for the most part, and seeing them work together as one unit to support the head coach is very important moving forward. And I thought the Racer staff handled every situation flawlessly.
We talk about the key additions, and I think as the summer has progressed, you got 15 guys you can, and if you talked about, it's like, hey, everybody's had a moment, and you're like, hey, that guy did great, that guy did great. I think the guy, I think pretty obviously right now is Fred King, who played 103 games at Creighton and averaged a whole 3 points a game, playing behind the best center in the country in Ryan Kolkbrenner, but 6'9", 267 pounds. And after 3 years of biding his time, he has busted out through the cage door and says, hello world, here I am. 15 and 11 the other night, but he is a monster.
He is, and for as big and strong as he is, he's got great hands and great feet. And so that allows him to be special. He was very dominant in the low post when he caught the ball, 7 for 11 from the field. I would say Ryan Miller would say he'd like that to be about, 15 shot attempts a game if possible. Played 28 minutes, finished with 4 fouls. Foul trouble is going to be the issue for him. And Ryan Miller's, view on that is that he still needs to get in a little bit better condition. I think, he's made a lot of strides since he's been on campus of them getting him in shape, but not getting those silly fatigue fouls when you're a big guy is what you want to stay away from. And so I know the staff will be watching that and be rotating in backups to see. But one thing for certain, Jeff, this team is not the same when he goes out of the game. Is he has that much impact that he's an all-league type player, maybe even a player of the year type player.
I said we can go down and go through a dozen guys about key additions, but I thought a couple that really stood out on Saturday were the freshmen from France, Roman Doman and Matisse Corbin. And we can start with Doman, who had 10 and 7 the other night, but you just see it. I mean, he's 20. He's a freshman. He's played professionally in France. You see him on some, second round draft boards for 2026, and you're like, you get it. He's 6'9" without shoes on, and just such a highly skilled guard. I mean, that's it. I mean, there was points where Lane Taylor is allegedly the point guard. He's running to the corner, and here comes number 77 dribbling the ball.
Yeah, he's got a unique skill set on both ends of the floor, but offensively really understands how to play. He had a play early in the game where, with the continuation call now that college basketball has added, he got hit about the free throw line going and then made a Euro step to get away from the defender and kissed it off the glass. And it was one of those plays that you and I looked at each other like,
All right.
okay, well, that's we hadn't seen that, and he's also very capable on the defensive end. He's so long that and has average foot speed, but he is very active with his hands defensively. Not a great 3-point shooter at this point. I think that'll continue to improve. But what I really like about him is his basketball IQ on the offensive end of the floor. He's very unselfish, is a willing passer, knows to either when he catches it, either make a play or get rid of that ball. It doesn't stick with him, and you can see the 4 to 5 years that he has had of being essentially a professional and coming up through, an organization that really teaches how to play with the ball in his hands and without it. He had 3 or 4 backdoor cuts from the wing that I think one resulted in a basket, but he was able to get fouled on one. I mean, you could just see from an offensive standpoint, he has a huge basketball.
The other freshman, Matisse Corbone, who was a young man that I don't know that maybe just didn't have the hype around him that Doman did coming in, but and you kind of were trying to figure out who's going to be in the rotation, who can play, and yeah, he can play, and I don't know that there's any argument about it right now. At 11-11 the other day at Xavier, and you mentioned more than once. I mean, just 6'6", but he can get from the wing to the basket, just kind of one dribble and those long strides. He's quicker than you would think, and super athletic, and he is going to be an impact piece, I think, for this Racer team.
He is, and a lot like Doman, both of them had 4 assists each, so they're willing passers. But one thing I like about Matisse is that when he catches it, his first step is really quick and a long stride. And we're looking at this picture of him when he arrived on campus, and he doesn't look anything like that anymore. Physically, he has gotten much stronger. You see his body filling out. And so that's a 6'6" wing, at times along with a 6'9" wing in Doman. And that's a lot of size defensively. I thought down the stretch it was interesting in the last 5 minutes of the game that Ryan Miller went to both of those players multiple possessions in a row even with Fred King on the block. He had the ball in their hands, being able to initiate offense. And so he has a lot of confidence in him as well.
I know I'm asking you to pick between your kids at this point. Out of those 3 out of the way, who else down the line you just think can be like an immediate impact guy that can kind of, and when we get going with the season, and maybe one of the most impactful guys was in street clothes the other night in JJ Traynor. Yeah. But I don't want to poison the well for you. I'll let you pick who you think.
Well, I really like Braden Shorter. He's the 6'5", 6'6", maybe another wing, and the best shooter out of the wings. And he's got size, he's got experience. He's a third-year junior, and he's very tough. What's that?
No fear.
Oh yeah, no fear at all. And Mike, took 14 threes, probably 2 of those, maybe 3. I think when he'll go back and look at the film, he'll say, yeah, I probably shouldn't have pulled those. But he doesn't have a conscience. He's locked and ready. My favorite thing, we talked about this on the broadcast, I'm in line with him at pregame meal, and he had 3 carrots on his plate, cooked carrots. And, cooked carrots and basketball teams just don't go a lot together. You don't see the cooked carrot bowl getting emptied out too much. But he has them on his plate, and he sees me looking at them. And he looked up and he said, "You know what these are for?" He said, "It's for these laser eyes right here, looking at the basket." And so we laughed, and there was a few shots that, as you said, were no. Oh, great shot! But he's also not selfish. Very willing passer. Will stick his nose in, and rebound as well. Only had 1 rebound in 26 minutes, but he's not scared to compete. And I think the point guard play, with KJ Tenner and Lane Taylor, both of them basically splitting minutes there. It's like a right-hander and a left-hander coming out of the bullpen, because one is cat quick, trying to go from end to end as fast as possible in Tenner, and then Taylor can stroke it. Didn't shoot it much at Xavier, but makes every play with a coach's mindset. Grew up as a coach's son and really understands how to play. And so I loved how both of those two played as a unit in the point guard.
Schedule rise, Racers 5 home games, just 1 road game, get 5 neutral site games, and open up with the Field of 68 deal in South Dakota with Omaha. And look, only 1 high major, that's SMU on the road, the back end of that home and home from a couple of years ago. But these neutral site games of Omaha, an NCAA tournament team last year, Akron was a tournament team. They're going to be a top 100. McNeese was obviously awesome last year. Middle Tennessee, George Washington's good. These may not be brand names necessarily, but these are some very good challenges for this Racer team this year on neutral field.
Yeah, I really think those are 5 games that you could go 5-0 in, or you could lose 4 out of 5. I mean, they're going to be highly competitive games. I think very good games that will simulate what the Missouri Valley is going to be like. And that's just going to be a dogfight, and that you've got to play well and you've got to execute correctly down the stretch in order to get wins in those non-conference games. But then when you get into Valley play, to be able to get some practice at how difficult it's going to be to get wins in the league.